Ever wondered how to make authentic Vietnamese beef pho at home? Well, you're in for a treat! Today, we're embarking on a culinary journey to Vietnam, the birthplace of the flavorful and comforting beef pho, or as the locals call it, pho bo. This dish, a perfect harmony of aromatic spices, tender beef, and soft rice noodles, all submerged in a savory and heartwarming broth, is a true testament to the rich and diverse culinary heritage of Vietnam. The process of making pho bo is an art in itself, from simmering the broth with an array of spices to preparing the beef and noodles, and finally assembling everything into a bowl of pure comfort. But don't worry, we're going to break it all down, step by step. So, are you ready to bring a piece of Vietnam into your kitchen? Stay tuned to learn how to create this culinary masterpiece right in your kitchen. Before we start, ensure you have all the necessary ingredients. Now let's walk through our list of ingredients, each playing a unique role in crafting the perfect bowl of Vietnamese beef pho. First and foremost, we need beef soup bones. These marrow and knuckle bones are the backbone of our broth, lending it a rich, meaty depth. Next up is our choice of beef. You can use chuck, rump, brisket, or cross rib roast. This will be cooked in the broth until tender, providing a hearty bite to our pho. For the aromatic profile, we'll need ginger, star anise, whole cloves, and a cinnamon stick. These spices will infuse our broth with a fragrant warmth that is signature to pho. Of course, we can't forget about our fine sea salt, the humble workhorse that heightens all the other flavors. Our noodles are the heart of the dish, and for pho, we're going with rice noodles. They're soft, delicate, and effortlessly soak up the flavors of the broth. To add a touch of freshness and a bit of a raw edge, we'll need some beef eye round. This will be thinly sliced and added raw to our bowls, cooking in the hot broth right before your eyes. For a burst of natural sweetness and a bit of crunch, we'll add some thinly sliced onion and scallions. Bean sprouts provide another layer of crunch, while lime lends a tangy freshness that cuts through the richness of the broth. And finally, for those who like a bit of heat, we have our optional ingredient, sriracha. This spicy sauce can be added to taste, giving your pho that extra kick if you so desire. So that's our star-studded lineup of ingredients. Remember, the beauty of pho lies in its simplicity and the quality of its ingredients. So try to source the freshest ingredients you can find. Now that we have everything ready, let's dive into the cooking process. The heart of pho is its flavorful broth. Let's start with that. So without further ado, let's dive into the art of brewing the perfect broth for our authentic Vietnamese beef pho. The first step in our broth journey is to start with the beef soup bones. These bones, particularly marrow and knuckle bones, are the secret to a rich, gelatinous broth. Once you've got your bones ready, place them in a large pot filled with water and bring it to a simmer. Simmering is a slow and gentle process that extracts the deep, robust flavors from the bones, forming the backbone of our broth, no pun intended. Now, while the bones are simmering away, let's introduce some aromatic elements to our broth. Slice some fresh ginger and onion. These two ingredients add a beautiful depth of flavor to our broth, with the ginger bringing a spicy warmth and the onion offering a sweet complexity. Next, we spice things up. Star anise, whole cloves, and a cinnamon stick are the holy trinity of pho broth. The star anise lends a licorice-like sweetness, the cloves offer a pungent warmth, and the cinnamon gives a delicate spiciness. Add these spices to the simmering pot along with a generous pinch of fine sea salt. Now sit back and let the magic happen. As the broth simmers, the ingredients begin to break down, releasing their flavors and aromas into the water. The ginger and onion mellow out, the spices infuse their unique characteristics, and the beef bones impart a hearty richness. This symphony of flavors is what gives pho its distinctive taste. Remember, patience is key here. The longer the broth simmers, the more intensely flavored it becomes. So allow it to simmer for a couple of hours, filling your kitchen with an irresistible, mouth-watering aroma. It's the kind of scent that makes you close your eyes, take a deep breath, and bask in the anticipation of the delicious meal to come. And there you have it. That's the secret to a flavorful, aromatic pho broth. It's a labor of love that requires time, patience, and quality ingredients. But trust me, the end result is worth every minute spent. Each spoonful of this broth will transport you to the vibrant street food scene of Vietnam, offering a taste of its rich and diverse culinary heritage. With our broth simmering, we're ready to move on to the meat. Now let's delve into the world of succulent beef, the second star of our pho show. Stay tuned as we continue our culinary adventure in the next segment. While our broth is simmering, we'll prepare the beef. Now for the star of our culinary show, the beef. We're using a nice piece of beef chuck, rump, brisket, or cross rib roast. Feel free to choose what you prefer or what's readily available. First, let's cut the beef into manageable pieces. We're aiming for around 2 by 4 inch chunks. This size is ideal as it allows the beef to cook evenly, absorbing the flavors of the broth without losing its own distinct taste. As you slice, take a moment to appreciate the marbling on the beef, a sign of its quality and your assurance of a flavorful dish. Now, with our beef all cut up, it's time to introduce it to the simmering broth. This is where the magic happens. The beef will slowly cook in the aromatic broth, tenderizing while it takes on the flavors of the ginger, star anise, cloves, and cinnamon. It's a slow process, but patience is key here. As the beef cooks, occasionally skim off any impurities that float to the surface to keep your broth clear. This not only improves the appearance of your pho, but also refines the flavor. We want a broth that's clean, fragrant, and full of depth. Remember, the goal is to cook the beef until it's tender. You'll know it's ready when you can easily pierce it with a fork, and it practically melts in your mouth. Depending on the cut of beef and the exact size of your chunks, this can take anywhere from an hour to 2. Once the beef is tender, it's time to remove it from the broth. Let it rest for a bit before slicing into it. This allows the juices to redistribute throughout the meat, resulting in a more flavorful and juicy bite. Perfect! Our meat is tender, let's get our noodles ready. As the beef rests, we'll turn our attention to the next step, the noodle preparation. But that's a story for another scene. For now, let's savor the satisfaction of having our beautifully cooked tender beef ready for our authentic Vietnamese beef pho. Now it's time for the noodles, the base of our pho. Every great pho starts with perfectly cooked rice noodles. They're the heart of our dish, carrying the flavors of the broth and the tender beef. To prepare the noodles, you'll want to follow the instructions on the package. These typically involve soaking the noodles in warm water, then boiling them until they're soft, but still retain a bit of bite. This process is crucial because overcooked noodles can turn mushy and lose their charm. So, keep a close eye on them, and once they're done, be sure to rinse them under cold water. This stops the cooking process and ensures your noodles stay firm and ready for the broth. And there you have it. Perfectly cooked rice noodles, ready to soak up the flavors of our aromatic broth and tender beef. With our noodles ready, it's time to assemble our pho. Here comes the exciting part, assembling our pho. This is where the magic happens, where the individual components of our dish come together to create something truly special. First things first, let's begin with the base of our bowl. Take your cooked rice noodles and place them gently in the bottom of your bowl. The noodles are the heart of the dish, and they provide an excellent foundation for the rest of our ingredients. Next, we're going to layer on our meat. Now, here's where it gets interesting. We're going to use paper-thin slices of raw beef I-round. You might be thinking, raw meat in a soup? But trust me on this one. The beauty of pho is in its simplicity and the freshness of its ingredients. Now you're going to pour your hot, aromatic broth over the noodles and the thinly sliced raw beef. The heat from the broth will gently cook the beef, turning it from a vibrant red to a pleasing pink, and then to a sumptuous brown. It's essentially a live cooking show happening right in your bowl. The broth, oh, the broth. It's not merely a liquid, it's a flavorsome sea in which our pho components can swim. The simmered soup bones, the ginger, the onion, and the spices have all lent their unique flavors to this broth, creating a symphony of tastes. Pour the broth slowly, allowing it to seep into the noodles and envelop the beef. With every spoonful of this broth, you'll be reminded of the hours of preparation that went into it. This broth is the soul of the pho, and it brings life to every other ingredient in the bowl. As the hot broth touches the raw beef, you'll notice a beautiful dance of colors. The beef slices will start to change their hue, signaling that they are being cooked by the hot broth. It's a delightful spectacle that adds an element of surprise to the pho assembly process. Once you've poured the broth, take a moment to admire your work. Look at how the ingredients have come together, how the colors contrast and complement each other. You've got the white of the noodles, the rich brown of the broth, and the transformed beef slices. But hold on, we're not done yet. Our pho is almost ready, just a few final touches to go. Remember, pho is more than just a dish, it's an experience. Every layer adds to this experience, and every ingredient has a role to play. So let's move on to the final act of our pho assembly, the garnishing. Stay tuned as we add the finishing touches to our authentic Vietnamese beef pho. Scene script. Let's make our pho eye-catching with some garnishing. Now the fun part begins. Garnishing is like adding a splash of color to a blank canvas. It's an opportunity to show off your creativity and add an extra layer of flavor to your dish. It's not just about making your dish look pretty, but also about enhancing the taste with every bite. Start off by arranging thinly sliced onions over the raw beef slices. The heat from the broth will slightly cook the onions, adding a hint of sweetness to your pho. Next, scatter some chopped scallions. Scallions, with their mild onion flavor, are an essential part of Vietnamese cuisine. They add a savory depth to the dish, a perfect complement to the rich beefy broth. Now let's bring some crunch to our pho. Bean sprouts are an absolute must for this dish. They offer a refreshing crunch that contrasts beautifully with the softness of the noodles and the tenderness of the beef. Just toss them on top of your bowl. But we're not done yet. We still need to add some greens. You can use a variety of herbs like cilantro, Thai basil, or mint. These herbs will bring a fresh and aromatic element to your pho. They're the perfect counterpoint to the savory broth and meat. Now for a zesty punch, squeeze some lime juice over your pho. The lime's tanginess will cut through the richness of the broth, bringing balance to your bowl. For those who like a bit of heat in their meals, here's where sriracha comes into play. Add as much or as little as you prefer. Just remember, it's always easier to add more later than to take away. So, go ahead, play around with your garnishes. Add a little bit of this, a little bit of that, until you find the perfect balance that suits your taste buds. And there you have it. Your bowl of authentic Vietnamese beef pho is ready. Enjoy every spoonful, every bite, and remember, the best pho is the one that you make yourself. Look at the masterpiece you've created. From simmering the aromatic broth to preparing the succulent beef and soft rice noodles, you've embarked on a culinary journey that has led you straight to the heart of Vietnam. Authentic Vietnamese beef pho, or pho bo, is more than just a dish. It's the perfect blend of flavors, textures, and aromas that tell a story of a rich and diverse cultural heritage. This dish is a testament to the joy of cooking from scratch and the satisfaction of creating something truly delightful. So whether you're warming up on a cold day, looking for a hearty meal, or simply craving for a taste of Vietnam, this recipe is your ticket to a world of flavors. We hope you enjoyed this cooking journey. Let us know in the comments how your pho turned out. Until next time, happy cooking!